Today's guest that we have is Jon Murray, the head coach at Geneseo. This is one that I've been really looking forward to. A little background on Jon. Jon is in his elementary high school career was a little bit everywhere. So he started off as a Cedar Rapids boy, moving into Geneseo as a ninth grader, then Danville his 10th grade year, and he finished off his high school year at Bloomington, Illinois, as his 11th and 12th grade high school years. Later on, he went on to wrestle at Illinois College. He's a four-time national qualifier, earning academic All-American. Jon is head coach of Geneseo since 2002, sending 50 qualifiers to state, 23 state place winners, and 2 champions, one of them a repeat champion. He was also, in 2012, inducted into the Illinois College State Hall of Fame. And in 2015, IWOCA, he was nominated as a 2A head coach of the year. So a lot of great things happening in that program and moving that program along quite a bit. Now, really interesting story on Coach Jon. I had the opportunity quite a bit this last couple of years to watch him coach as my nephew wrestles for him. But IWOCA freshman, sophomore sectionals, I think it was last year. There's a good story to start off with where it was really bad weather, and Jon was coming in to help these Fresh South make it to the next stage or make it to hopefully state. And there was a bit of an accident. I think he rolled his car and was still able to make it to the start of the wrestling meet just after warm up. So is that true, Jon?
Well, it was Coach Rusk was driving. There were 4 of us all together in his pickup truck there, and we're heading up to Morrison. You know, we wanted to be there by 9:30 or so to get warming up with the kids, or to help lead them through their warm up, and just some black ice there about 2 miles out of town, and just a total loss of control. Everything went in slow motion, it seemed like, and next thing you know, we're totally sideways in the ditch, you know, in a snow bank. We couldn't get any of the airbags had gone off, the whole bit. And so we're all just it all just happened so fast. Here we are in the inside of his pickup truck, just silent. I mean, it went from what's going on to just boom, quiet. And then first thing I thought of, we better just call those guys and let them know that they better get their warm-up started without us. So literally, while Coach Rusk is directly above me, hanging suspended by his seatbelt, we call the kids and say, hey, you better get your warm-up started on your own, because we're probably going to be a little bit late. You know? So some people came and they cut us. They ended up cutting the windshield out with the big jaws of life or whatever it is, the fire department. So we crawl out the windshield, you know, and fire trucks and cops, and like, man, this is kind of a big deal. They had redirected traffic, the whole bit. You know, you don't realize it when you're inside of there, but step outside, you're like, oh man, they had the road construction clearing the roads already and everything. But we walk into the gym, and right, literally the second we walk in, they start the national anthem. So we made it just in time for the start of the meet. Yeah.
But just a great story of your dedication to the program, and really impressed how these kids of yours, they'll run through a brick wall for you, from what I can see. So great program and great direction it's going in.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
So, Coach, obviously we all know right now is a crazy time in the world with the COVID and everything going. How are you keeping your sanity through all this craziness right now?
Well, you know, you got to get outside a little bit every day. I think it's a good thing they're not making us stay in our houses, because then I would go insane. But so, you know, luckily my daughter's been riding mountain bike with me the last few days. We're getting out, going out to the trails a little bit, and you know, you get outside, get in the woods a little bit every day, and it kind of clears things for you. And so that's one thing that's helped me get through this, you know. And then, as far as, you know, I teach at the high school, so you're trying to stay online with the students and trying to stay in touch with the kids every day a little bit, you know, and just doing what you can from home, just like I see you guys are doing there too.
So I hear that you're quite the avid bike rider and ride to school year round. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. Let's see. My daughter, she's a senior now. So when she got her license a couple of years ago, her schedule is a little separate from mine as far as when we go to school, come back. And I really didn't feel like getting a new car. So I'm like, well, this is a good time. I'll get a bicycle, a little bit cheaper, and I've been riding it to school every day since, So right through the winter, I mean, I think the coldest I rode, it was -8 actual temperature, -16 wind chill. And if there's school, I'm doing it. So, but so that's kind of how it all started. But then start taking it out on the trails. And I just kind of discovered that the last few years and having a lot of fun with it. Now getting her a bike because she's going to be heading off to college and she's going to need one. And so we thought we might as well get her one now and let's go ride.
I love it.
Yeah.
So let's take it all the way to the beginning. What got you started in wrestling? And originally you're an Iowa boy, right?
Yeah, born in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. My dad was helped coach a youth group out at the Ellis YMCA in Cedar Rapids, and so I think I was in first grade when he kind of took me in and to the practices there, and that's kind of how it all started. And we about fifth grade when we moved into Geneseo, and he told Larry Kankey was the head coach at the time, and because I had my younger brother too, he was in second grade, and he was with the youth club there back in Cedar Rapids, and my dad goes to Coach Kankey and says, "Hey, we need to get a program going here for youth." I mean, they had a middle school team and everything, and Coach Kankey said, "Hey, that's a great idea. Come help me out. Well, let's do this." And I think they had over 100 kids show up on that very first night, and so I think that was 1979, and so that was kind of the start of youth, the evolution of what has happened and come up through today now. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of the background on how things got started for me, was through my dad in Cedar Rapids.
Awesome. So who are some of the wrestlers that you kind of looked up to growing up?
Well, back you got to be a Hawkeye fan, just like I see in your background there when you're in Cedar Rapids, and so my dad took me to the Hawkeye meets. I think Carver was kind of a new facility back when I was like elementary age, and just remember being in awe, in Carver, watching the Bannock brothers and Jim Zaleski and Barry Davis and Randy Lewis, and so those are the guys I always obviously idolized and looked up to, and have always kind of tried to pay attention to what Dan Gable has always done, and obviously I think he's probably the greatest coach of all time, and so you always look to him and read and watch everything you can on him. But my dad kind of got me introduced into that, and then that kind of got my excitement going for it, and kind of taking it from there.
So, Coach, you have a really interesting story on how you were recruited into Illinois college. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how you made your appearance?
Yeah, I went to a spring tournament there after let's see, probably was like 1988, I guess, spring tournament after high school, and wrestled at the Illinois School for the Deaf had a tournament there, just an open tournament. And Illinois School for the Deaf is just catty corner to Illinois College there in Jacksonville. And so one of the guys, I actually ended up wrestling the Illinois College wrestlers, two of them there in that tournament. And so I kind of got talking to them, and they introduced me to their coach, and then they kind of like gave me a tour around campus while I was there, and ended up just kind of becoming buddies with these guys, and decided to go down there, and he got me a job with the coach, got me hooked on with the job at the Illinois School for the Deaf. So 3 out of my 4 years there, my room and board was paid for, working at the deaf school. Just had a job 2 hours a night to cover that at the deaf school. So that ended up being my college career at Illinois College then, because it all got hooked up from that match, in that spring tournament. And then he was my opponent, and then he ended up being my teammate when I went there. And then he graduated before me, so he became an assistant coach. So then he was my coach, and he was my roommate along the way as well. And then And then he was in my wedding as well. And so still great friends today. So that's kind of the story all the way through that one.
That's cool. That's very cool. What is your philosophy? Obviously, this year is going to be a little different, but on off-season wrestling.
Well, you got to get on the mats. I mean, so hopefully we'll be able to do that sometime soon. If you're not on the mats, what is it you can be doing? You know, are you watching your diet? Are you lifting? And you know, as far as right now with the weightlifting program, you know, you probably can't get in the gym, but are you doing your pull-ups? Are you doing your push-ups? Are you doing your body weight squats? And I try to get my guys to find a hill, you know, find a hill somewhere, get your hill sprints in, because keep those lungs in shape, keep your body in shape. You don't really have to have weights. To get a great workout, you've got your body, you know, grab a tree branch, I don't care, but get your pull-ups in and get your push-ups in and your squats. And then as far as technique and everything, you know, I've sent my wrestlers kind of come up with I call it a technique blueprint, you know, kind of a thing where here's our kind of our main focus on the feet, you know, on top, on bottom positions. And these are the videos that I've kind of studied, and these are the kind of things we'll be covering in practice. So kind of ask them to, hey, this is a great time to just go through all that. You know, I want you guys to watch these videos so that when we do get back in the room, you know how you've seen a video 3-4 times, the details start to click a little better for you. And so hopefully they're doing that a little bit. I'm going to have to jump on them again, just stay in touch with them on GroupMe or whatever, but get them watching videos, keep them motivated a little bit. Maybe this will motivate them a little more, you know, to get back in the room and to do, maybe once we do get to go back in the room, maybe they'll work a little harder. Maybe they'll appreciate a little more when they weren't able to do it for a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but just staying busy. That kind of reminds me, I remember Coach Seeley telling me the story about his son, Adam, who was our first state champion. He had a pull-up bar in his bedroom hanging on his door frame or whatever. And he said every time he went in or out of his bedroom, he did pull-ups. And I think he got to the point where he's doing 47 pull-ups, you know. I'm like, you do 47 pull-ups. Yeah. You're pretty, and that's just a habit, you know, doing those all the time. So you can get your workouts in.
Oh yeah. I love that message too, Coach. I mean, our wrestlers that are out there right now, they need something to be doing. And you don't necessarily have to have a full weight set there to get a good workout in, number one. And part two, that mental training that you said, you know, you can watch something over and over and over, and then it will become reality for you, just mentally making yourself a stronger wrestler.
Absolutely. You got to have some visualization, you know, where they say the subconscious mind can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and an actual experience. You know, if you can't actually be in the room, you better visualize it, you know, get on YouTube, get on your videos and visualize yourself. Stance and motion drills, you know. There's some things you can do in your basement, you know, and we have a few guys that have a home mat or whatever, but you don't necessarily have to have a mat, but you're doing what you can. And this actually is a good time probably to actually have an advantage over your opponent, because there's probably a lot of people just sitting around right now wasting time, and, you know, good chance to get a little advantage here if you're the one that's out doing something to get better every day.
Yep. Get a head season right now. So,
absolutely.
Okay, Coach, how has the sport of wrestling changed or evolved since you were a kid wrestling and your transition through high school, college, into coaching?
Evolution of the sport. Well, internet. You know, we were just talking about watching videos. You know, I remember my early coaching days as an assistant. You know, going with Coach Kanke out to Iowa City to the clinics. And watching the clinics in person and taking notes and asking questions, and then we'd always buy the video and take it home and watch the video, and you know, now you can click on, you know, and go to YouTube and you can find, you know, unlimited amount of stuff. In fact, it's almost too much. You have to narrow it down and say, hey, here's what we're going to focus on, because you could just go every direction technique wise and everything. So you got to kind of use the internet, but it's a great tool. I think it's helped the sport evolve. Technique wise, you can learn. There's a fad going on out there, man. It's you pick it up right now. You shin wizard, low ankle defense. I mean, all this stuff everybody's on it, and you see how, I mean, even the NCAA making the, what do they call it? The danger rule takedown for 3 count expose. I mean, everybody's wrestling different now. They're doing the roll through, ankle roll through defense off of a high crotch or whatever. And so they're going upside down, trap them there, So
Yep.
Rules are changing a little bit, but I think that's also part of the internet is probably the big one. So take advantage of it for sure.
Yeah, that's great. There's a lot of opportunities out there to learn.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about the places you've wrestled, who is the toughest coach that you ever wrestled for, and why?
Oh man. Well, I've had a lot of great coaches, which has kind of helped me, I think, in my career. But as far as when you use the word tough, I'm going to say Jim Ledbetter at Bloomington High School. He had us in condition. He wasn't probably the greatest as far as teaching technique of wrestling, but man, were we in shape. If we could keep the match close going in the third period, we were pretty confident. I mean, he was literally like a drill sergeant in the room. And we couldn't really do anything about it because he was doing it with us. He's in his lower 30s. He was team captain at Illinois State University when down there in Normal and back when they had a program. But just a solid, hard-nosed guy that liked conditioning, and there were no excuses. I mean, off the bottom, just get to your feet. There was really no technique to it, but you get to your feet no matter what it takes, And he was explosive, but he made us work, man. I mean, just sets of 50 push-ups over and over and over and over again in between live goes and in between. I mean, it was brutal. It was brutal in there. And so that was probably where I learned how to work hard physically a little bit. And then of course the mental toughness follows. You realize you can survive that. You can, there's nothing they can do for you in 2 hours that you can't handle. So that I mean, one other story about that guy, Jim Ledbetter, Bloomington. Here's a mentality. He was he ran with the PE classes too. He's a PE teacher. So he's out doing 100 yard. They're working on track on PE. Well, first of all, they did a mile warm up. Every people hated, if you weren't an athlete, if you didn't like this, you didn't want him as a teacher because there's a mile warm up no matter every day, in PE. And he did it with, I don't know how he did every class. I mean, he was in shape. And so anyway, they're working on sprints one day and he's got a kid on the track team that he's racing. And so he lunges for the finish line and he falls forward, hits his shoulder. He's walking around later that day, his shoulder's dangling, right? And principal catches word of it, I guess, comes into his PE class and says, "Hey, I heard you fell earlier or something." He said, "Yeah, I'll be all right." He goes, "No." He goes, "Let me see." He couldn't move his arm with it. Principal had to make him go home, go to the doctor, whatever. I think he ended up having surgery. I think it was completely dislocated. So he wouldn't have left school though if he didn't have to. And so next day, he's not at school, which is very strange for him. So I remember after school going over to his house to check up on how he's doing. I knew he had surgery and everything. And he's all strapped up with that arm and he's mowing his lawn one hand. I mean, he's out there the day after, and I'm like, you can't stop the guy, So when you say tough, we're talking mental, we're talking physical. And so that was a big influence on me right there. I'd say Jim Ledbetter, Bloomington.
Yeah, it sounds like the picture of toughness, kind of like a machine. Yeah.
Absolutely. Literally. Yeah.
I think we see a lot of that with your Geneseo squads too. I know you're known for great football squads, but your wrestling team every year coming into the season, most teams, they have like a 1 month build up to get back in that wrestling shape condition. Seems like your boys are hitting it right off the bat, pretty solid conditioning.
Yeah. They we work them hard, we'd say, you give us 2 hours and trust me, there's nothing we can do in 2 hours that you can't handle. And And as long as you understand that, they'll work for you. It's not like that. I remember talking to John Heffernan one time. He's out in, I think it was at St. Edwards. He helps coach out there. And he gave me that idea, and I've stuck with it. We have a 2-hour practice period. And if they know they're done at a certain time, they're ready to work. And so give me 2 hours. And, we've got some assistant coaches too that like to hammer on the conditioning. You mentioned Montez earlier. So, Jesse coaches with us too. And he's got a little circuit he runs through, so they're in shape. They're in shape.
That's great. Okay, Coach. So tell me, what was the biggest obstacle you've ever had to overcome as either a wrestler or a coach?
Obstacles. Well, you look back on I guess coaching days as well. You talk about injuries. Of course, it's harder nowadays physically you always want to get on the mat, at least demonstrating, and get on the mat as much as possible. But it doesn't take much to get injured anymore. But back I've been through 5 surgeries. I've had a spinal fusion. So you got the physical aspect of it there. But as far as obstacles, that's one. I'm lucky here in Geneseo. We have a great community. We have a lot of support. When you say what are your obstacles in coaching, I think more about what are your advantages that we have here. We have a tremendous booster club. I have tremendous coaching staff. It's just I'm surrounded by a lot of people that give us a lot of success, and then as the head coach, I'm the one that you call for the interview, but there's a lot of people that are out there making the success happen. And so I'm going to say it's the opposite of obstacles. I have a lot of help along the way.
So 2 parts kind of off your answer. And first of all, I heard you're the self-proclaimed spike ball champion on the team.
Absolutely. I don't know about that. You've talked to Carson, I can see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I saw the kids playing it a lot, and I think it was at our tournament, and I think it was another team had a spike ball in there, and so I just jumped in and started playing. I'm like, man, sweating here, this is a warm up, and this is pretty fun, and it's a fun way to have warm up. Well, I think Carson he brought one in, and so I just jump in with those guys. When we were going through that frost soft thing while we're still in school, we would jump in there. I think one day, there were some other coaches too. I think we jumped in and played. An hour goes by and you realize, hey, maybe we ought to get a little bit of wrestling in while we're doing the spike ball practice here. But
and part 2 to that was you mentioned your coaching staff. Now you have a really unique coaching staff because you are not only the only coach on your staff that has been nominated or has been selected for the Coach of the Year. Is that correct?
2015, the IWCOA has the Coach of the Year. So I get the 2A Coach of the Year, Head Coach of the Year in 2015. But that same year, I mentioned Coach Rusk. He was the driver of the accident, but he was Assistant Coach of the Year that year as well. And then the year before, 2014, Rich Sheely, who he was assistant at the high school. Now he's our head middle school coach, but he was assistant Coach of the Year as well. So I actually have 2 assistant coaches that have been IWCOA Coach of the Year. But so when I talk about, surrounding myself with staff that makes me look good, they're all I got to do is surround myself with good people and then just try to ride the wave, But there's other coaches too. I've got at the high school, down at the middle school, Sheely, he wrestled for Illinois State. He was all Army team. Rich Fontenoy's down there as well. He wrestled for the Army back in the day, and he brings a lot of excitement there. We got Brian Sebastian, who's a former Geneseo wrestler who was a state qualifier back in the 80s. He's down there helping out too. He's got a son that'll be up at the high school soon. And then at the high school level, Russ wrestled for Orion back in the day, and his brothers, and there are 5 of them all together. And then he wrestled for Monmouth We've got Robert Cooney, who wrestled for SIU Edwardsville. He's a UT guy. So you guys might know about him a little bit, and he's a solid asset to our program. We've had him for a couple of years now. Josiah Kropp wrestled for Lincoln College. He wrestled for us as well. He's helping out now at the high school, and he was a 2-time place winner, the state tournament, and with some college experience. So we got, and I mentioned Montez earlier. He went to SIU Edwardsville as well, and was an All-American there. And so I tell you, and we have several other volunteer assistants as well. We have guys that'll take a team to a JV tournament if we're busy at a varsity tournament. We got, I think we got about 13 coaches altogether between the middle school and high school, if you count the volunteers, and a lot of people just willing to help. And then our youth club, I think I got a list of 23 guys that have helped at one point or another throughout the season with our youth club. So you get some parents involved there too. But yeah, it's you just recruit those guys. And we just got Tyler Poles. He's a former wrestler for Geneseo. He wrestled for Buena Vista. He just got hired as a special education teacher at the middle school, and so we're going to get him involved somehow down there too. So he'll be in the building at the middle school. So we're excited to have him on board. So, I got so many guys, I'm sure I missed names there too. But
a great program. Just an example of next man up. I mean, and also a great feeder program coming back into your system.
Right. You start them young. I talk about 1979 when with my dad coming to Coach Kankey with that, and I mean, that's been my philosophy all the way through. You've got to have the youth club, the middle school, the high school. That's a luck. We're lucky because when we get our freshmen, most of them have prior experience, not only at the middle school, but even before that sometimes. So good stuff there.
That's awesome. And when you say you sort of surround yourself with good guys and smart people, and it helps make you look better. That's kind of what I'm doing with Jay. So
there you go. I'm sure you guys are helping each other a lot.
Oh yeah, we do a good job together, tag teaming.
Well, I can tell you, I appreciate on behalf of all the coaches throughout the Quad City area and wrestlers too, and just fans in general. We're happy to see your website and your Facebook page, and so those of you that I'm sure you'll promote your QCAWrestling.com, but I've been checking it out a little bit, leading up to, and you guys invited me to the interview, so I've been kind of looking at it. I'm like, I like this. I like what I'm seeing. And the more, the better that's out there. These kids are all online now, I'm sure, with some time, and so make sure you check that out.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We're still, this is just scratching the surface. I think there's a lot of opportunity to really highlight our area. So yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you guys for what you're doing. It's pretty cool stuff.
If you could tell us a little bit about this past season with your team and sort of what the outlook is for next year.
Well, it's always hard to predict. I mean, coming into this last season, we lost our 2-time place winner heavyweight, who was, it's always nice knowing you got that guy that's returning. He's medaled before, and then that people are going to follow, and so we didn't have anybody coming in this year that had medaled before, or that type of thing, and so you just kind of, you're like, it doesn't, not sure what we're going to have here. I hope we can end up, at least 500 on the season, and they end up, I think they were 19-1 in duels. They won the Western Big Six Conference, which was the first ever Western Big Six tournament that we actually hosted it this year. So they were able to win the conference tournament there, and then Rock Island showed up at regional, and they beat us at the regional tournament. We were second there, and so that overall, though, looking back, when it's all said and when you're in it, you don't realize what you're doing, but then you look back, you're like, wait a minute, we ended up 19-1. We got beat by Assumption at the Muddy Water duels there, but other than that, they were pretty solid this year, and so I'm just really proud of how the guys stepped up and took it to a new level. And as far as going into next year, we're only gonna have 3 seniors. We had 3. We have Clay DeBailey, Bruce Moore, Logan Tuggle that are juniors that are going to be our seniors next year. But that's a solid 3 seniors for next year. So we do have the qualities there, and then we had a pretty big, as far as numbers go, freshman class, and so you look down at the middle school, we're going to have some decent kids coming up again, and I think we got a pretty big 7th grade group right now that'll be following behind them pretty soon. I don't know how much more I'll have left after those guys, but it looks like they're feeding up pretty well.
All right, Coach, we kind of touched base on this next question, but I'm just going to have you expand and then also do a shout out to your boys or anyone else you want to at this point in time. But, with the COVID-19 shutting down all the training facilities, the gyms, what is your expectation for your boys at this point in time and any other Quad City area wrestler to, A, not lose ground, but B, as you mentioned before, this is the time of the season where you can get ahead of some people?
Well, I guess we're all in the same situation as far as that goes. So I guess each day you just got to ask yourself, what is it today that I could do to get better? And do that, how hard did you lift yesterday? Did you get your hill sprints in yesterday? Do you need to rest your body a little bit? Make sure you're eating healthy. Today's a good day to get on, watch some video, that type of thing. Maybe get some stance and motion drills in just to keep your legs in wrestling shape a little bit, that kind of thing. But what is it that you can do today to get better? Because there's a lot of people out there right now that probably aren't doing that. So if you just do that, whatever that might be for today, then you're definitely gonna stay ahead of the competition that's coming up in the future.
Yep. And I've been telling Carson, grab his dad and take him to the mats or to the carpet if he has to. So same with Montez, right?
Oh yeah, they both have dads that are definitely willing to do what it takes to help their sons there. That's for sure.
Hey, Coach, one question I have. The Geneseo Invitational is one of the bigger regular season high school tournaments around here. You get a lot of good teams, it seems like, come there. How's the field looking for next year?
Good. We still might get a couple teams coming. They've changed the bylaws with the IHSA as far as your number of dates. They just changed it to dates and matches rather than 21 duels versus 4 tournament max. So there's a lot of shifting on the Illinois side. There's a lot of shift in schedules right now. But yeah, as far as as everybody's coming back, as far as I know, and a few other teams that are inquiring now. So I think we were right at 16 last season. We had Plainfield East, I think it was, that came in last minute. And I think we've got a few more inquired. If we can get a 16-man bracket up to about 18, 19 teams, to fill those buys a little bit, we could handle a couple pigtails if we need to. But we try to keep that tournament as competitive as possible. Coach Kankey started that tournament. I think it's, what was this year, 44 or 45 years now. And so, I've inherited this tournament. And so I take on the responsibility of trying to keep this tournament as competitive as possible. And we have good administration that is, we're really working hard to keep this tournament as competitive as possible too. We'd like to, we've got a few Iowa teams that come in and maybe try to expand some into Wisconsin, Missouri, who knows where, but we just try to keep it as competitive as possible.
All right, Coach, we come up to the point where we call OT, sudden death questions. This is the rapid fire one. So, ready?
Okay.
All right, first takedown gets this one. All right, favorite wrestling movie?
Ooh, well, it's probably not the best movie, but I would say my favorite Vision Quest, just because of back in the day, the high school, the time in my life when that came out, it was so influential, and it was pretty cool for a high school kid to see that back then. Yeah.
Favorite superhero?
Superhero. Oh man, let's go Spider-Man. We actually had our youth club was called the Spider Club for a while. But yeah, let's go Spider-Man.
Favorite wrestling match of all time?
Oh, okay. Well, 1993, Lincoln McIlravy, true freshman, makes it to the NCAA final. He's got Jerry Abbas from Fresno State, and he's down 12-8 third period. And he comes back and wins that match on, I think he scored like 3 takedowns. I think he scored one with like 6 seconds to go, and to win his first national championship as a true freshman. So I think as far as actually match that I've witnessed in person, that was probably my favorite one. And then also I was on my first date with my wife. Now at that was, so you got to give her credit to going to a wrestling tournament for a first date. I don't know what kind of guy I am on that one, but she stuck with me anyway. But I would say as far as just the meaning of the match, I think about Rulon Gardner, back in 2000 when he beat Carell and the Russian, that was 13 years undefeated. And so to have an American being able to beat him, boring match, I'll tell you, but as far as the big picture of the match, I would say, so I'm going to put them into 2 categories. Greatest match, McIlravy. Biggest meaning, Rulon Gardner.
Yeah, those are great answers. And I'll just throw out there that your wife was willing to go to a wrestling meet on your first date. You knew she was a keeper right there, man.
Absolutely. Her dad was a coach, wrestling coach for 17 years. He was my freshman coach when I was a freshman, and I ended up coaching with him. So she knew what she was getting into with the whole coaching thing. So I got lucky on that one.
Yeah, for sure. Greatest U.S. Olympian wrestler?
Ooh, well, probably John Smith as far as the accolades but you got to throw Gable in the mix as far as if you were to talk career and coaching, I'm going to say Gable. Wrestling, I'm going to say John Smith.
Favorite food and where should you go to eat when you're in Geneseo?
Ooh, food. Well, peanut butter fudge. That one was easy. Where to go? I hate to take. We try to, especially now. You try to hit the local places. To give them the business. But the sampler at Sweet Peace, can't beat it. That's probably the best meal in town. That as far as the restaurant goes.
Okay.
We'll hit them up.
All right.
We never talked about freestyle or Greco at all, but what's your favorite wrestling style between all the styles?
Well, I'm going to say folk style because that's what we do in high school. But as far as freestyle and Greco, love it. Maybe that's what we should be doing in high school because prepare our guys for the Olympics better. I think with the women getting started now, that they have women's, wrestling in the Olympics, we should probably be let's jump right into freestyle and have it be freestyle wrestling in high school. I don't know that, or in college. I don't know that that's how they're going to do it, but we probably should do that as far as the international scene. But, it's exciting watching freestyle and Greco. But probably for me, I would say folk style where my experience is and so forth like that. But get on whatever it takes to get on the mat. Go do your freestyle and Greco for sure. We have a former wrestler, West Cathcart, who actually qualified for the Olympic trials, which has now been postponed and everything. So hopefully he'll be able to stay on track and maybe he'll be in the trials, I'm sure. I don't know how USA Wrestling's going to do it yet, but he had qualified for the trials, which they would have already happened, but now he's going to be hopefully still in the trials for the 21 Olympics now. So, but he's a Greco guy, so you got to appreciate all forms of wrestling there.
Favorite football team?
Ooh, high school Geneseo, college Iowa Hawkeyes, and pros. Let's go with the Denver Broncos.
Okay, fishing or golf?
Well, I coach golf too, so probably spend a lot more time with golf. And I guess free time, I'm probably more likely to jump on the golf course than. But I appreciate fishing a little bit too. But I'm gonna have to go with golf, I guess.
All right. Big question to wrap it up here, Coach. Favorite quote?
Ooh. I remember hearing this one a long time ago and try to live by a little bit. They won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you got to start with the relationships and take it from there. That's probably the most important thing as far as any career you might have.
I think that's a great way to wrap up this interview. Definitely the way you represent your team as well. So, Coach, thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you guys, and thanks for what you're doing. Good luck with your new website and everything. I hope people will jump on and check out I'm looking forward to seeing what your future interviews are going to be there too.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. Please share this podcast with your friends. Give us a like and a follow on Facebook and Twitter at QCA Wrestle. And keep an eye out for more QCA wrestling content coming soon.